Hello everybody, welcome to the Am IT Geek YouTube channel. My name is Shabazz and as ever I am the IT Geek. Welcome back to another episode on the AZ700 Designing and Implementing Microsoft Azure Network Solutions Study Guide series. This is a series done by myself and a friend of mine, Mohammed Sajid, and we're basically going through the exam topic and covering off all the areas of the exam module by module that you could face, trying to help you with your sort of studying. We're covering the theory, which is what I'm doing, and we're covering labs, which is what Mohammed Sajid is doing towards the end of the episode. So you should know the format by now, because obviously you're all regular viewers. So let's get started with today's episode. So I might have mentioned towards the end of last week's episode, last episode, we are still on designing and implementing core application delivery services, which is module 3. But today we're going to talk about designing and implementing Azure Front Doors. This is part 1 of a 2-part series. Today we're going to talk about mapping requirements and features and capabilities. Then we're going to talk about identifying some use cases for Azure Front Door, followed by looking at choosing the appropriate tier. And then again I'll hand over to Mohammed Sajid to do a demo on configuring Azure Front Door. So from a mapping requirements to features and capabilities perspective, again let's go through some of the features of Azure Front Door. So it's a Microsoft modern cloud content delivery network, or CDN. Essentially this provides fast, reliable and secure access between your users and your application static and dynamic web content across the globe. So it's a global delivery service basically. Azure Front Door enables internet-facing applications to build and operate modern internet-first architectures that have dynamic, high-quality digital experiences with highly automated, secure and reliable platforms. You can accelerate and deliver your app and content globally at scale to all your users, whether they're creating opportunities for you to compete, or it's weather change, and you can quickly adapt to new demand and markets as well with Azure Front Door. Also, you can intelligently secure your digital estate against known and new threats with intelligent security, and this embraces that whole zero trust framework, which is so important in cloud at the moment. And there are 2 versions of it, so there's a premium and a standard version. So we've talked about identifying appropriate use cases for Azure Front Door. So as I mentioned, there's Azure Front Door Standard. So this is sort of content delivery optimized. And there's also the premium version, which is more security optimized. So which one of these you use, this decision very much depends on whether the features offered by Azure Front Door Standard or Premium are required. So the first one I want to talk about is scalability. So if there's no requirements for hosting globally, scalable applications an enterprise may not benefit from. However, if enterprise deals with building operations and scaling out dynamic web applications and static content, it could make use of the Azure Front Door SKUs. And from a pricing perspective, Azure Front Door pricing is based on the inbound and outbound data transfers and routing rules. So the pricing for Azure Web Application Firewall and Azure Content Delivery Network, this includes a monthly charge per policy and other charges for more custom rules and managed rule sets. So again, depending on what the content delivery perspective is, Azure Front Door Standard can be considered if you want to optimize content delivery, or you want to provide acceleration of both static and dynamic content. You want to make use of basic security capabilities. You want to use SSL offload, or benefit from enhanced sort of traffic analytics. Finally, from a security perspective, Azure Front Door Premium is more suitable when we need standard features along with it. So, we're talking extensive security capabilities across the web application firewall, bot protection, and sort of private link support. So, in a way, in this slide, I've kind of gone through some of the SKUs as well. What I'll do is I'll put a link in this description of this video with a link to a bit more detail around the SKUs if you want to read up on those further. But for now, again, another short episode from myself. I'm going to hand over to Mohammed Sajid, and he'll be doing a demo on configuring an Azure Front Door. So over to you, Saj.
Thank you, Shabazz. So Shabazz has just gone through Azure Front Door, and in this demo, we're going to look at deploying Azure Front Door. So to deploy Azure Front Door, navigate to load balancers, and on your left-hand side, you have the 4 options for your load balancers: application gateway, front door, load balancer, traffic manager. So select front door and CDN profiles, and we already deployed to the current offering as a standard tier and classic. We'll take a look at both of them quickly. So to create Azure Front Door, select create. And to deploy a classic front door, select other offerings. You see here, you've got Azure Front Door, Azure CDN standard from Microsoft, and CDN offering from other providers. So to deploy the Front Door Classic version, select Azure Front Door Classic, select continue. Your subscription, select your resource group. We deploy everything to our AZ700 test resource group. This is a global service, but it does get deployed into a region, and this is being picked up from the resource group where we're actually working. So everything here gets deployed in UK South. Select next, and you have this configuration, front door domains, backend pools, routing pools. If you just step out of this and look at the one that we already deployed, so the classic tier, and you go to settings, front door designer, it's the same design front end. So if you select front door domains, give it a unique name, and it gets tagged with Azure FD frontdoor.net session affinity. So if you want incoming requests to always go to the same backend, enable or disabled by default. So in this demo, we've left it disabled. And web application firewall, you can enable and configure this. I've got no policies configured in this demo. So this is disabled by default for this demo. And backend pools. So define the backend pool, give it a unique name. If you look at your backend pool and the options that you have the ability to target app service, cloud services, storage, classic, application gateway, which is what we're targeting in this example, API management, public IP address, traffic manager, custom, so it could be an IP address, on-premises server, potentially services at another cloud provider as an example. So if you look at the one that we've deployed here, we've got unique name and application gateway that we're targeting. So somebody will use the URL for your front door, browse to your front door, your application gateway will then load balance to your backend. And if you've been following this series, in the backend, we've got a couple of web servers running default IIS, which is what this will target. So you've got health probes, enabled or disabled, enabled by default, the path for your health probe, protocol HTTP or HTTPS, and get or head as the method, and it checks every 30 seconds. So left as HTTP in this example, and load balancing. Because I've only got one, I've dropped down the sample size and successful sample request to 1. But configure this based on what you've deployed. And then routing rules. So give it a unique name. Is it enabled or disabled? And the protocol it is accepting. So this is layer 7, HTTP, HTTPS only. So you can enable for both or one specific HTTP or HTTPS only. So in this request is HTTP only. Your front end domain, the pattern. So you can do URL paths that if you want to define in here. We're not defining anything at this moment in time for this example. Routing type, forward or redirect. So the incoming request will get forwarded to your targeted backend or redirect to a different URL. And the backend pool here. And the forwarding protocol we're using is HTTP. We're not doing URL rewrite, and we're not doing caching. We'll take a look at caching in the next video. So that's if you want to deploy the classic Azure Front Door. If you want to deploy one of the newer offerings, again, same process, select create. Azure Front Door, you've got the quick create option as a guided tour, or you've got custom create. So if you select custom create, it gives you very similar options to the classic. So the name, resource group, to apply anything to our sample resource group, the name, so just call this test 001 example, and you've got 2 tiers, standard or premium. Standard is content delivery optimized, premium is security optimized. Next, and this is if you're using BYOC, bring your own certificate, you need to define your key vault where your certificate is held. So it says here, a my certificate is provided for you to use with HTTPS. So you get one provided by Microsoft, But if you're using your own certificate, you need to define that here where the certificate is stored. And then if you look at that endpoints, if we just step out of this and look at the one that we've already deployed. So we've deployed it as a standard here, Azure Front Door. If you navigate to settings, Front Door Manager, and again, similar kind of setup. So under routes, select the one that you wanna that we've already configured, and again, give it a name. A unique endpoint, and your tags on this key to make it unique, and azurefrontdoor.net. Enable this route, the domain, which is the same as your endpoint. Then if you look here, again, pattern matching, we're not defining pattern matching. Accepted protocol is the same as our classic, HTTP only. Origin is like a backend. So if you look at origins here, add new origin, give it a name, and then say add an origin. You've got more options here. If you look under origin type, you've got storage, Azure Blobs, you've got classic, storage, static websites, cloud services, but you've also got traffic manager, Azure Spring Apps, container apps, and custom. And if you've been following this series, we've got an app service with 2 web servers at the back end. In this example, we're just targeting one of the web servers, and we'll take a look at that in a moment. HTTP only. We've enabled caching, and under caching, you have string caching behavior. Define the one that you want for your requirements. You can also enable compression and update. So if you look at overview, you're provided with this unique endpoint. If you copy the endpoint and paste it into your web browser, it will take you to our web server. Now, we're using this as an example. You don't necessarily, in the real world, you don't want to give your backend servers a public endpoint. This is pure for testing purposes and for demo purposes. You want to put something in front of it. So if you look at our application gateway that we've deployed, which is what the classic front door is targeting, this has got 2 web servers behind it, this web server being one of them. And you can have this URL target your app gateway, then your app gateway would then load balance to your backend, whatever you define in your backend web servers, web apps, etc. If you look at your classic Azure Front Door, under settings, you also got your origin groups. So here's where you define your backends, your origin groups. You also got this configuration preview, which is quite interesting. So you can now upgrade, still in preview, so you can now upgrade to the premium tier if you deployed it as a standard tier. Hope that was useful for you. Thank you for watching. Back to you, Shabazz.
Thank you, Saj. Another really informative demo there, this time on configuring Azure Front Door. So a really good way to end this first part of that topic. If you want to follow the labs along, if you look in the description, you will see a link to the GitHub labs. So please do. I can't emphasize enough how important it is to follow those labs. So yeah, this is now the first part of the Azure Front Door topic. We're going to talk about another episode. We'll obviously another lab from Saj as well. And I believe the next lab is going to be around configuring caching for Azure Front Door. So that should be a really good lab. So thank you everybody for watching. Please continue to like, comment and subscribe. We really appreciate everybody's support. If you want to hit me or Saj up, our socials, Twitter and LinkedIn are in the description as well. So thank you very much everybody for watching, and until next time, goodbye.